I've been testing this optic for the last couple of months on a number of different guns, but it's just kind of landed on my 4-inch Floyd's Custom M&P. It just feels at home here. This is the new competition optic by C&H Precision. A lot of you probably know C&H Precision for their high-quality optic mounting plates. Well, now they have their own line of optics. I guess these aren't really new. I think they've been out for most of the year. It's been a little while. Be patient. I'm trying to catch up here, guys. When I became a C&H affiliate a few months ago, they asked me if I wanted to go ahead and test and review one of their products. I just figured, what the hell, I'll give it a go. I picked their competition optic over something a bit more duty-minded because I've noticed this trend going around lately where people basically want to put the biggest glass possible on their carry weapon. The number of people putting a Trijicon SRO on their carry gun, even though it's somewhat known for its lack of durability and Trijicon expressly says that it's not for duty use, it's really wild. And then you have, new optics from like Holosun. Holosun has their new competition optic. I've even seen people put that new big-ass Bushnell red dot on their carry gun. I really just figured that it was time for me to try this configuration out for myself and see what it's all about. First off, the C&H Competition Optic retails at like $300. A little bit less if you follow the instructions down below in the description. That's a hell of a deal if you ask me. Mind you, this is a competition optic, so a lot of its design and features are more in line with competition use than, say, duty or carry use. Now you can go take a look at all the specs on their site if you want. It's all there. Be my guest. I'm not going to sit here and read off all of those specs. I'm just going to go over some of the things that I think are fairly important with this optic. I'll let you know what I think about it and my personal experience. And then if there are any other questions that you might have, I'm just going to refer you back over to C&H where all the other information will be. For an optic at this price point at $300, the quality, the build quality, seems to be pretty good. The buttons, they have a good solid feel to them. When you press them, there's a nice solid click. It's not a weird squishy kind of feeling like a lot of other red dots in this price range would be. It is a 3 MOA dot, and I have found that the dot itself is nice and bright, nice and clear. It's incredibly easy to pick up the dot with this C&H Precision competition optic. I actually really like the look of the dot. To me, it seems much bigger than a 3 MOA dot. Now personally, for a carry gun, I like to use a 6 MOA dot. That's my favorite dot size for a carry gun. And the 3 MOA dot on this competition optic, it seems similar in size. Now I know 3 MOA, it's half the size of a 6 MOA dot, but I actually think it's more of a perception thing due to the size of the window. With the 6 MOA dot, it's really fast, really easy to get on target when you draw. With this one, even though it is half the size, 3 MOA, because the window is so big, it really does feel like it's fast, quick, and easy to get on target. And I really do think that it is because of the size of the glass. Now, I wish that this was a 6 MOA dot or that they had options for different sizes, but again, C&H has only just somewhat recently started putting these optics out, so give it time. Maybe they'll go ahead and have a 6 MOA down the road. For now, though, the dot size on this works really well. Over the last couple of years, I have tested several more budget-friendly red dots. None of them have done well enough to actually end up making a video with. One of the major issues that I find with red dots in this particular price range tends to be that the emitters are cheap and crappy and they stutter and flutter and blink when you are transitioning quickly from target to target, like almost to the point of throwing you into an epileptic seizure. Luckily, that's not an issue with the C&H Competition Optic. Because, it is made for competition, you're going to be transitioning quickly and frequently from one target to the next, and you want an emitter that works well and doesn't have that weird kind of blinkiness to it. That's just one of my little pet peeves. I want my red dot to be solid. I don't want any weird issues where it is distracting me from being able to stay on target. The C&H Competition Optic does really well in that regard. I can set up, 4 or 5 different targets, and I can transition from one to the next without ever getting distracted by that emitter. Consistency and accuracy with this are absolutely spot on. I zeroed this optic in at right about 25 yards, and I'm really confident at any range from your typical self-defense range all the way out to about 35-ish yards. I don't really have a place to test it past right about 35 yards, but let's be honest here. Even 35 yards is somewhat pushing it as far as realistic expectations for a 9mm in the first place. Nonetheless, anywhere within that 35-yard range that I have to work with, it's ran really well. I haven't had any issues with, say, the zero shifting or anything like that. It is ran better than expected for an optic at that $300 range. Part of me really does understand why people are putting these massive optics on their carry weapons. Once you've used a TV that's 80 inches or whatever, it's hard to go back to something that's smaller. I will say one thing that bugs me is the top loading battery. It's not my favorite. If you end up picking up one of these optics, be careful when installing the battery. The threads feel really fine, and with the way the whole battery setup works, you really have to be careful not to cross thread it. On the other hand, with the shake awake feature and the battery life, what it is, you shouldn't really have to worry about that too often. Just remember when you do a battery swap or during initial setup, be careful. I can't really attest to the battery life for this optic. All I can say is that I have used it pretty consistently as a carry gun over the course of probably 3 months, almost every day, and the dot is still going strong. Of course, I think it's listed at 50,000 hours, so 3 months is a drop in the bucket. So yeah, I can't really vouch for battery life. Now, my only real complaint about this optic is the slots for the adjustment for windage and elevation. They're an odd size. They're very small. I wish they were larger, something a little bit more standard. Perhaps the right size so that I could use the same tool that I use for, say, all of my hollow suns on this one. Unfortunately, it's a more thin blade to be able to make the adjustments on this one. Now, the optic did come with a tool to make the adjustments. I'm concerned that at some point I'm going to lose it, and then I'm going to have to go buy something special for it. In any event, I have to carry one for this optic, and I also have to carry a second one for, other optics that I have. A more standardized adjustment screw would be nice. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a mood killer that it is the size that it is, but it's something that I want to point out that really kind of bugs me personally. On the bright side there, the adjustments for windage and elevation, they have a pretty positive click to them, so you know that you're actually making an adjustment. Some of the other more budget-friendly dots that I've tried out, when you make those adjustments, it's just a kind of free-flowing screw in, screw out. There's no actual click to them, whereas the C&H does have that, so that's kind of a positive. Footprint. The C&H Competition Optic, and I believe all of the optics that they provide on their site, use the same footprint as the RMR. That means you shouldn't have any issues mounting it to whatever gun it is that you want to mount it to. In the event that you do need a mounting plate, if you're buying this from C&H Precision, they do have what I would say are the best mounting solutions on the market. Now, you won't get any argument from me that a direct mount is the best solution, but if you have a gun that does need some sort of adapter plate and you're buying the C&H Competition Optic, well, just go ahead and get yourself a C&H adapter plate as well. Now, the big question is this optic fit for duty use or carry use, or should you just keep it for competition use or range use only? So far, the competition optic from C&H has done really well for me personally. I did take a dive out of the back hatch of my Subaru down to the gravel. It did well. There's no, breakage. The glass survived, still zeroed when it was all said and done with. Now, that's not the highest drop in the world, of course. That's only happened once. I'm usually really good with my stuff, and I wouldn't necessarily say that's kind of my seal of approval for durability. I personally feel like the bigger window that you have, the bigger chance that there is for breakage. Sure, this red dot could probably sustain some number of falls. I'm not going to say for sure that it will or it won't because I don't really do like drop testing like that. I leave that for other channels that really enjoy dropping things on the ground. I just know that, like with phone screens, the bigger a piece of glass, the more chance that you have when it falls that something is going to hit it just right and break it. Now, sure, the chances of most people actually dropping their gun on the ground are going to be pretty slim. The main worry is that while you're carrying it, you may get into, some sort of tussle or something. It could potentially get broken during that. And then if you do go to pull it out and use it, then you don't have an optic to use at all. Now, personally, I don't know. I'm not going to dive into the durability aspect of it because I've really only dropped it once and I don't plan on doing that again. Just know that if you use a large windowed red dot, no matter what company it is on your gun, you do run a substantially larger risk to something being able to hit that glass and break it. You know what? It's been really nice having this big windowed optic on my M&P. I really do love shooting it. But I'm kind of actually thinking that it's going to be a little bit more at home on my Smith & Wesson Victory. It's about time that I finish building that gun, and it's going to need a good quality, large windowed, competition-minded optic to sit on top of it. I'm really kind of leaning towards the C&H Competition Optic being perfect for that project. Till then, I'm going to keep it on the M&P, and I'm going to keep running rounds through it every week when I go out and go shooting, and just keep testing it, keep seeing how it goes. Now, maybe someday I will feel a little bit more comfortable with an optic of this size on my carry gun. For now, though, I really do think that I need to stick to something a little bit more standard size, just for my own personal comfort level. Till then, the C&H Competition Optic is going to be something that is probably going to get rotated between different guns. It's going to get a lot of rounds through it. And if my opinion of it changes at some point, if something pops up that makes me drastically change my opinion of it, then you can bet I will do a follow-up video. At this point, if you guys want a big windowed optic at a great price, then you should definitely go take a closer look at the competition optic from C&H Precision. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. And you know what? I'll see you back here real soon.